Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Stevenson, and I live in Haddon Township, New Jersey. Um, I graduated from Haddon Township High School in 2014. Um, I am a very family-oriented person. I really care about, the state of my family and what they're doing and how they're doing. I want, my nieces and my nephews to grow up in a world that is going to survive, one that will give them so many opportunities and a future to where they don't have to worry about having food on the table and a roof over their head. Um, I grew up in a family of 6 kids, with, my father and my mother. My mother had a disease called RSDS my whole life. And, this disease basically gave off the sensation of pain throughout her whole body. And, it took a toll on her. The medicine she took, it was difficult for her, but she was the strongest woman I knew. And she will always be in my heart. Um, Unfortunately, we just actually lost my mother a few months ago. And before that, I also unfortunately lost my brother as well. So uh, I am familiar with, how rough life can be on people and on families. And it's important that, our communities stick together and keep an eye out for each other. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have. We have each other. Um, I grew up in a pretty big family, and because of that big family, things were difficult at times. We didn't grow up rich. We didn't have, all the luxuries that a lot of kids my age had. Um, but in essence, it made me who I am. It made me a stronger person, and I am grateful for it, to be honest. Um, um, I am passionate about, reading and um, politics, especially climate, even more. Our climate needs a lot of work and should have all of our attention. Um, the importance of education. Education um, is the future of our children and the human race. Um, I really value the time that I have with my family and my friends and in my communities. I want to see all families prosper and achieve greatness. Because when it comes down to it, it is your right to achieve it. It is your right to live a life of happiness and prosperity and you know worry free practically. We have come to a point in our society where we can achieve these things. We can achieve so much. Technology has made the possibilities unlimited. And once we realize that, once we focus on that, we can overcome anything. And that is one of the reasons why I am running for the 1st Congressional District of New Jersey for the House of Representatives. Um, I am running because it's important to me. It is important to make these necessary changes because currently our politicians don't represent us, the people. They represent the corporate interests of America. And that's a problem. That gives the people who already have so much power even more power. And that's wrong. and it needs to be fixed. We need to remove corporate interests from politics, and that will be one of the first things that I focus on as your representative for the 1st Congressional District of New Jersey. Another thing that I am passionate about, and that I hope that you also are passionate about, is our climate. Our climate is in crisis, and we do not have a lot of time to figure out a plan to fix it. The Green New Deal does address some of the issues. However, it's not enough. We must demand more. We must demand that our politicians find clean and renewable energy. And we must remove the corporate big oil lobbyists from Congress. That's why you hear a lot of the time that climate change is a hoax, and that's a lie. Okay, climate change, yes, it is a natural occurrence, but that's not our issue. Our issue is the impact the human race is having on the climate change. Our impact is making our climate change happen much faster than it should. And that is our problem. That is why we need to step in and say enough is enough. We need to unify under the idea that in 10, 20 years, we might have a food scare. We might not be able to grow food. And when that happens, there will be war. Countries will go to war over food because they have to feed their people. But it can be avoided. If we come together now, today, and elect those who know that climate change must be addressed immediately to the fullest extent of our power, then we can make a change. Then we have a future to guarantee for generations to come. Another issue that a lot of New Jerseyans have is tax equality and how much it costs to actually live in New Jersey. Right now, property taxes is through the roof, and not a lot of people can afford it. You want to provide for your family, and you want to give them a roof over their head, right? Well, that's almost impossible. Even if you work 40 hours a week and you're a single parent of 2, what are you supposed to do? 40 hours a week at $11 an hour does not give you a livable wage. And the deal or the bill that was passed to raise New Jersey's minimum wage to $15 an hour will take place over 6 years. At the end of that 6 years, the minimum wage will be $15 an hour. But a livable wage in New Jersey in 6 years, if you account for inflation, is going to be $25 an hour. So that doesn't solve our issue. We're still going to have a divide of how much money you're going to be making. It's not right anymore. And we need to address this issue of how our taxes are being spent, because it's not going back to the people. It's not even going to the infrastructure of New Jersey. I mean, look at Haddon Ave. It still needs so much work to be done. And have you seen any work get done to it recently? No. Have you seen any business developments? No. You only see these big companies being built all around New Jersey. We need to fix our politicians. We need to put a check of power on our politicians. Because this corruption, it needs to end, and it needs to end now. And we, the people, need to demand it. Because we have the power, not them. Right now, you see a lot of racial divide within our country. And to me, the reason for that is to make sure that the people are separated. Because if the people are unified, if the people come together and say enough is enough, the politicians, these corporations, they lose their power. Because remember, you have the power. We have the power. And it is time for us to break the chains. You also hear a lot about, there should be Bible readings in school. And that, to me, fine. You want to read the Bible in school, by all means, go ahead. But if you do that, you're going to also have to teach all other religions in school. It cannot just be the Christian religion. It must be all religions. Otherwise, there is no separation of church and state. We need to work on affordable housing for our people and for New Jerseyans all over. It's created a divide of people and landlords, and there's no checks on what landlords can charge for their apartments, and that's wrong. I mean, the average person that, let's say you didn't go to college and you just kept working, and let's say you work at Wawa, okay, and you make $11 an hour, and you're single, you're by yourself, and you need a place to live. $11 an hour, 40 hours a week, does not give you a livable wage. It gives you barely enough to scratch by, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. And then you get to, why is that the case? Why do certain people have the right to live in a home and other people have to live on the streets? Why is homelessness even a thing still? We are a $1 trillion country, right? So why is the politicians not fixing that issue? The reason for that is because there's no profit from it. The politicians will only enact laws that will make a profit for their corporate interests, for their PACs that they have received through big pharma or oil lobbyists. We need to remove it. That is our first step. And that is what I will push and push and push for. And I will not rest until it is done. We also need to focus on our Medicare. We need to ensure that every citizen of the United States and every citizen of New Jersey has the right to get affordable health care. I might even go as far and say free health care, because it is your right to live. If we deny certain people health care because they don't have enough money to it, are we not condemning them to death? Right? It's wrong. We need to fix it, and we need to fix it now. We need to fix our education system because it is broken and it is unequal. Why do we put a limitation on how much knowledge one person can possess? Why do we do that? And it's because these corporations need to make a profit, and they make a profit off of you going to college and learning something when you can be at home and learn it there on your own. Another issue that I saw that a lot of New Jerseyans have is there isn't a lot of uh, child services for working class families. Let's say you have, you know, two kids and a mother and a father, and in order for them to be able to get by and pay their bills and put food on the table and make sure there's a roof over the head, they both have to work. So because of the politicians and the wages they are allowing corporations to give, they should be responsible for making sure that your child is going to be taken care of. Right? That's what we all want. And that's what we need. And it is time to move past this racial divide and this sexist divide that we have today. Women and people of color need to be paid the same amount as their white counterparts. It is wrong that there is even a wage divide among races. We are all one people. We are all the people of God. We live in His kingdom, and we will rise above it. We will rise above these chains, and we have finally said enough. So I ask you, join me. Fight for your future, for your children's future, and for generations to come. Because it is your right. It is my right. It is everyone's right to live a life of prosperity, of happiness, of equality, and of purpose.